Hi everyone. In the first Zoom call with the ski definition group, we put the suggestion out there for people to let us know what are the areas of skiing that they would like to learn more about, or what are the topics they would want to have more of a discussion on. And that's a completely open-ended thought there that anytime anyone have some thoughts and opinions and suggestions for things they'd like to talk more about or see discussed, please do let us know. A fair amount of the group are instructors, and so fairly predictably, a lot of people were asking for more information with regards to specific courses and obtaining higher certifications. And the more I thought about how to start this conversation, this topic, is it really kind of made me think about our first presentation that was titled Learning versus Performance and some of the ideas and concepts that we have there. And so I'm going to keep this within that ballpark because I think some of those ideas are going to really help tie a lot of these elements together as we get a closer look and dive deeper and deeper into how we're going to go about obtaining higher certifications. With that in mind, I thought we'd start off with a very simplified look on what's going on with these courses and what these courses are about. And the way I look at each course is each certification is a skill-based assessment of your performance along your learning journey. So as we go about developing our skills, it allows us to achieve a greater variety of things. What a certification course is it's kind of drawn a line in the sand along that path with regards to what the skill level needs to be and how we go about assessing that with regards to your performance of a variety of turn sizes and things like that. So if we then try to put that into context in terms of what are some of the skillful outcomes that we look at on these courses, you could take something as simple as a rounded turn shape that's linked and rhythmical, and then connect that to how that progresses throughout the certification systems. And at level one, where that's happening within artificial environments or on easy terrain, by level two, three, and four, we want to be able to achieve that same outcome in a greater variety of turns and turn sizes, a greater variety of speeds, and on a greater variety of terrain and situations and conditions. That might sound fairly simple, but I think when you understand how the skills need to progress in order to be able to achieve that, you start to have an idea of the amount of time it's going to take in order to develop those skills and then be able to apply them into those various situations and to be able to achieve those various outcomes. You know, by the same token, we could look at something like our connection with the ground or our control of pressure, and we can clearly see that in something like bumpy terrain, whereby we could set the goal of uh, being able to maintain our contact with the ground. As we progress, we want to be able to do that more in a shorter turn size while staying in the fall line. We might also want to be able to do that whilst being able to vary our turn size to round, to the zipper line, and even then being able to manipulate our contact with the ground. For example, jumping off of one bump and landing on the back of a nut of the next bump in order to adjust and change line by using those skills. And that's really a bit of a simplified look. There's a lot more to it, which I think is where some of the confusion comes on within understanding exactly what the requirements are at each level of certification. But I think that the backbone to this really should be that I'm looking to develop my skills in order to allow me to choose how I apply them. And that's where at some point, yes, we do need to practice the specific turn sizes on the specific terrain that are required at those levels. But by the same token, those shouldn't be our only limitations. We mentioned last week that idea of if we only draw the bullseye of a target, we've only got the choice of hitting it or missing it. Whereas if we have that entire target and we train around that, then we can choose what part of the target we hit and when. And I think to me that's how I approach developing my skills is I want to choose how I apply that skill set to achieve a variety of outcomes. As that way I can also be more aware of where my current skill set is at in relation to my performance level and relate that to the standard required for the course. And simply the same thing applies within teaching skills. The tools required for teaching don't really change at any stage throughout a certification program. We might find that in some cases, a few more tools are added um, as we spend a bit more time using and practice them and as we progress. But for the most part, the tools remain the same. We just need to get better at them. And we could look at that with regards to how our assessment skills develop over time. That we need to go from just being able to spot some symptoms and some mistakes that we kind of notice happening in skiing relative to what we'd maybe desire to happen. And then we move towards trying to understand, well, what's caused those symptoms and how have they affected the skiing, so that when we come to development strategies, we can address the cause rather than the symptom. And then obviously, as we progress through the levels, we need to be able to do that to a higher level of skier because we're doing that with the other people on the program with us. And you could see some similarities with regards to how our communication skills develop throughout this process, as we go from a focus on teaching beginners at with regards to maybe a level 1 certification, and where that's a lot of telling and showing our students because they don't have any knowledge yet of what skiing is and what to do or how to do it, versus a lot more two-way interactive feedback and communication at the later levels through questioning, as well as really involving our students more in that learning process. So with that in mind, I know that's a simplified look at it to say, well, it's the same skills, it's the same tools, we just need to become better at them. That doesn't mean I'm saying that is an easy process just by simplifying what's actually going on. I think by simplifying it, it actually allows us to get a much clearer look on how difficult and challenging that process is and how much time that's going to take in order to achieve those outcomes and to go along that path. And so what I'd continue all to do, for those of you that are interested in attending more of these conversations and seeing more of these presentations, is to really let us know some of the specific areas you want to know more information about. The more specific, the better. What are the areas of a course or a certification program that you're not sure about? What is it about that process that still confuses you and you're not sure how to go about achieving it? I kind of look at that as if you go to the gym and see a trainer and you say, I want to lose some weight. Well, they're immediately going to dive deeper in, well, how much weight do we want to lose? And that could be done through, a measurement of body fat and things like that. What time frame do we have to try and lose it by? And then, managing those expectations with regards to how much weight we can actually lose within the given time. It's the same thing with our skiing skills. We want to look at where do our skiing skills need to be? What do we need to be able to do with them when we get there, and how much time are we going to give ourselves to do that? And I think identifying those specific areas that we need to know more about first of all is where we can really start to get ourselves in the right direction. And there's various ways we can look at these things over time. Um, I always like to combine looking at how we're going to develop our skiing and combine that into the teaching tools that we could use to help develop others at the same time. But by the same token, we can also break down and separate all these specific areas before we start to combine them as well, to build this kind of, to start off with this whole idea and then break it down into the little bits and pieces before putting it all back together again. And so those are going to be our next stages, is really looking at what are the specific areas that we could cover and what do people want to cover, what do people need in to help them develop and get on their journey towards obtaining their next level of certification. So please feel free to let us know if you have any thoughts and ideas of things you'd like to see discussed in any of the comments below. Thanks everyone, and I look forward to talking to you all on future talks and presentations.